You know what's interesting these days? Bitcoin.
The Bitcoin marketing blitz is officially underway. With Bitwise dropping their most interesting man in the world ETF ad this week and rumors of a big budget Super Bowl ad in the works, are we seeing the start of an all-out marketing war where all the big Wall Street financial firms battle it out to see who can best shill Bitcoin as the best performing asset that it is? Does Bitcoin need a marketing department? We'll have a look back at all the inadvertent but blatant advertisements we've seen for Bitcoin over the last few years. Could a crumbling financial system be Bitcoin's best marketing department? What's up, YouTube? I'm Hurley, and today we're talking about the Bitcoin marketing blitz and how we're about to see hundreds of millions of dollars spent on advertising Bitcoin, and more specifically these ETF investment products, which are expected to begin trading in early 2024. Bitwise was the first to take a crack at it, releasing this 15-second spot featuring the former Dos Equis mascot.
Bitcoin. Look for Bitwise, my friends.
Regardless of your opinion on the effectiveness of the ad, there is something to be said for being first, so kudos to Bitwise for that. Now, there are currently 12 ETF applications by various asset managers, and many people are underestimating just how significant these ETFs are in terms of branding and marketing. First, it's important to note that these firms are in it for the fiat dollars, not to fix the money. In order to make millions and perhaps even billions in fees, they need assets under management. To get the most AUM, they need to be the number one ETF, and to be number one, they need to grab mindshare. This is an all-out marketing war, and the undeniable winner is Bitcoin's market cap. So the question becomes, do you want to see this exponential growth reflected in your traditional investment portfolio? How about that massive Bitcoin upside without the capital gains taxes? That's where the Swan Bitcoin IRA comes in. To benefit from Bitcoin in your IRA, all you need to do is set up an IRA with Swan, allocate real Bitcoin to it, allow it to appreciate over time with zero capital gains taxes, and enjoy your retirement. Go to swan.com/retire to learn more. Now, there's already a well-circulated rumor, first mentioned by Swan CEO Corey Clipston, that the production of a large-budget Bitcoin-only Super Bowl ad is currently underway. Here's the original tweet by Corey back at the beginning of December. He says, "A massive financial services firm has already hired a top-tier ad agency to produce their Super Bowl ad about Bitcoin, not crypto." Now, speaking of the Super Bowl and crypto, this reminds me of the popular huge budget FTX Super Bowl ad from 2021 with Larry David.
I call it the wheel.
I don't think so.
Now, I can still remember the first time seeing this ad and the disappointment and disgust I felt at the end when there was no mention of Bitcoin at all. They used the idea of Bitcoin being the often misunderstood technological leap that it is to comedically highlight an intricately costumed Larry David scoffing at other technologies throughout history.
Edison, can I be honest with you? It stinks.
Of course, instead of saying Bitcoin, they use this huge budget and clever execution to show their crypto casino trading app in which millions of users were subsequently defrauded of their hard-earned money. This brings us to the more recent Coinbase ads, which center around the idea of a broken system and the need to update it.
Get a job, save a little, take out a mortgage, buy a house. Get a job, save a little, apply for a mortgage, get a second job, get some roommates, rent a house. Realize the only generation that's going to fix this is yours, and start building.
Sounds an awful lot like Bitcoin, right? Unfortunately, like the FTX ads before it, these Coinbase ads ride off the coattails of Bitcoin being the fix for the broken monetary system that is crippling current and future generations, and instead lead them to their altcoin casino. One clever pleb fixed the ad by replacing the Coinbase logo at the end with the correct one.
Just because you're born into a system
doesn't mean you have to live with it.
Now that's what I'm talking about. The difference now with this new wave of ads is these big firms are actually using the word Bitcoin because this is a Bitcoin ETF they're promoting, not a crypto ETF. That's why I think this will be the cycle where Bitcoin starts to really distance itself from the scam-filled crypto space. To really get an idea of how serious this Bitcoin marketing push will be in 2024, here's a clip of Corey Clipston on Unchained with Laura Shin talking about it.
Yes, I expect this to usher in a ton of capital flowing into Bitcoin. I expect Super Bowl ads. I expect NBA playoffs to be papered every golf tournament next year. It's just going to be advertising Bitcoin ETFs. I mean, it's going to be a massive land grab for these guys because, as you know, like when you want to trade NASDAQ, it's the Qs. Most of the liquidity is in one ticker, right? And the spreads are tightest with the one ticker. And that's just how it goes. So they're going to really, really try to battle it out as much as they can and try to get as much of this market share. And it'll probably end up being, 70% to one of those tickers and 20% to the second, and everybody else will split the last 10. Is usually how it works with these category ETFs. So yeah, they're going to go nuts next year trying to win that.
You heard him. This will be a very serious battle between these firms for dominant market share of their ETF over all the others. The firm that wins this war will benefit from a huge percentage of the market choosing their ETF and will reap the rewards of potentially billions of dollars in annual fees for giving their investors exposure to the tremendous upside of Bitcoin. But this begs the question, does Bitcoin even need a marketing department? While this marketing blitz obviously helps adoption by putting Bitcoin on the radar of more investors and working class people, the fact is that the mere existence of our crumbling financial system is all the marketing Bitcoin needs to inevitably emerge as a superior system. Let's go over all the shortcomings of the traditional financial system and the blatant government overreach that has indirectly and inadvertently put up a huge billboard for Bitcoin over the last few years. First is the obvious one, inflation and currency devaluation. As we're all keenly aware, we've seen record inflation across the whole world in the years post-COVID and the unprecedented money printing that followed. While we saw the highest official inflation rates in the US since the 70s, countries like Venezuela, Argentina, and Lebanon got hit much harder. It's not a coincidence that countries with inflation well into the double digits also see an increase in Bitcoin adoption. As the negative externalities of fiat money, inflation, and money printing hits more and more people, the realization of Bitcoin being the only money that can't be printed at will and debased becomes more apparent. Another one is the rise in financial censorship. The best example of this was during the trucker protests in Canada in early 2022. Thousands of truckers and everyday working class people gathered in the country's capital to protest worsening COVID restrictions and mandates that threatened the basic freedoms of millions of Canadians. The Canadian government responded by not only freezing the bank accounts of protesters, but also everyday people that donated as little as $10 to the movement. I seriously couldn't dream of a better advertisement for why Bitcoin is so important as a money that cannot be censored or frozen by any government. Yet another example is the rise in international economic sanctions. When the US cut off Russia to the SWIFT banking system in the spring of 2022, this sent a message to other governments around the world that they could also be cut off in a similar way at the drop of a hat if they did something the US deemed unfavorable. Today, nations under economic sanctions such as Russia, Iran, and North Korea are already reportedly using Bitcoin to circumvent restrictions. And more will follow suit as the utility of the Bitcoin system becomes more clear in preventing similar actions in the future. And who can forget the string of bank failures we saw across the country this year when hundreds of thousands of Americans were locked out of their deposits? It's not a coincidence that when these bank failures happened, the Bitcoin price just happened to spike. This continuing trend of bailouts and consolidation in the banking sector, which leads to economic hardship, especially in those with limited financial resilience, is just another blatant advertisement for a better system where you and you alone can take full custody of your wealth without the need for a bank or custodian. So no, Bitcoin doesn't need a marketing department. The failing financial system is providing more than enough incentive to seek out and learn about this superior emergent money that was designed specifically to fix these failings. So although this marketing blitz for the ETFs will bring more attention to Bitcoin as a store of value and investment vehicle among institutions and everyday investors, Bitcoin, the freedom money, the open global medium of exchange that can't be censored or debased, markets itself. As a fiat system based on debt slowly crumbles before our very eyes, everything becomes an advertisement for Bitcoin. So what do you think? Are we going to see a big budget Bitcoin-only Super Bowl ad next year? Who will it be? BlackRock? Fidelity? Like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the Swan Bitcoin channel for more content like this. Also, check out my video from last week on the FASB ruling, potential Fed pivot, and Saylor's checklist towards a $5 million Bitcoin price, and the one about the rising cases of Bitcoin derangement syndrome. Until next time, Bitcoin is peace.